Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for being here. My name is Andrew, coming to you from the beautiful Carolinas. Today's topic is going to be finding yourself in the unknown. Think about that for a minute. Everyone, if you like the content, please like, subscribe, and share. So finding yourself in the unknown, this is a very, very important part of the journey of the post-narcissistic relationship healing path. When you were in the relationship, in the narcissistic relationship that is, you lost yourself. You became a shell of yourself. You lost your identity. You did things you never thought you would do, said things you never thought you would say, tolerated poor behavior that you never thought you would tolerate. And that relationship took you on a roller coaster of emotions, very high and extremely low. The relationship is over. Now you are on the healing path. Post-narcissistic relationship, you will have to figure out so many things. And some of the things you have to figure out was, number one, that in that relationship, yes, you did lose yourself, and you had to lose yourself to find yourself. Now, I mentioned that frequently on videos recently because it's so true. The narcissistic relationship is unlike anything you've ever encountered or experienced. And when you're in it, you don't know what is going on. You don't know how you got there. And what you do know is you're being devalued more and more each and every day. And the harder you are working for that person or for that relationship, the more the abuse gets ramped up until something breaks. And usually what happens is the narcissist will discard the person, or the person is strong, very, very strong, and they remove themselves from the relationship. Either way, if you were in the narcissistic relationship, you know that it changed your life, the trajectory of your life forever, because you probably had plans that you wanted to accomplish and goals that you wanted to achieve. And most of those, or some of those, probably were put on hold. And this was due to the narcissist telling you negativity and things that you couldn't achieve certain things, or you wouldn't amount to anything. I'm not going to go into that in this video. I'm mentioning to you that when you find yourself in the unknown, this is very, very challenging, to say the least, in the beginning, because post-narcissistic relationship, and really understand this part of the message, when you're used to being with the narcissist day in and day out, and you're used to texting them or being with them or being under the same roof for a period of time, or them calling you or you doing things for them. In other words, when you are attached to the narcissist, and that is removed from you rather suddenly, like that, that is a very difficult pill to swallow, specifically if you do not know what narcissistic abuse is, and probably that was you. It certainly was me. So then what you do is you go down the rabbit hole of exploration, because you have a craving for something that you don't know what you're looking for, but it turns out to be narcissistic abuse. And then again, you probably type something in the search engine or the browser, like spouse won't talk to me or something, and then lo and behold, all these videos popped up, or articles or books, whatever it was, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's it. All these things that these people are talking about, they're checking all the boxes. I experienced that and that and that, and there's a name for that? Oh my gosh. So then you get all your light bulb moments. Now, breaking the trauma bond, which is the little part of this video I'm going to share with you, it is very challenging to do, but you will do it. I did it. If I did it, you can do it. You need to understand that if you were discarded, or if you removed yourself from the relationship, that the narcissist most likely has already gone on to another source of supply. That is not for this video. The point is focusing on yourself, because as I mentioned previously, you had to lose yourself, and now you're finding yourself, but you're finding yourself in the unknown, because no longer do you have the toxicity of the narcissist in your proximity peppering you with abuse, telling you to do things, and you're not walking around on eggshells. There's a huge void post-narcissistic relationship that must be filled, and usually what people attempt to fill it with is the narcissist, because they're looking for closure. They're looking for answers to the questions that they have, and they believe, because most likely they were in the trauma bond or caught up in the relationship so deep, they believe that the narcissist will give them closure, or will talk to them, and maybe they could rekindle the relationship. After the dust settles and the fog lifts, and you get really clear in your mind when you are not communicating with the narcissist, and this is post-relationship, you understand that the narcissist never had your best interest at heart back then, now, or ever. They never will. They are empty and they're shallow, and they only care about themselves. So when you figure that out and you get the light bulb moments and you find that needle in the haystack, which is narcissism, narcissistic abuse, then you really begin to fill the void of all of the free time or available time that you used to be doing things for the narcissist, waiting for them or picking them up or cooking, cleaning, paying bills, running all over the place, doing errands, etc. All that stuff goes away like that. And now that void must be filled by you. And if you found the wisdom, if you understood that it was narcissism that you were up against, now you naturally go down the rabbit hole of exploration and education, because you have a craving for the knowledge. You need to know what happened and why these poor behaviors that you couldn't wrap your head around, why you experienced them for so long, and that in fact there are definitions and terms for these things. When you do all of that, that's when you are you're in a limbo place. I call it the void. That's when you really need to self-isolate, and you don't feel like going outside. You don't feel like communicating with people. If you were communicating with people during this period of time, you will find out that they're getting burned out rather quickly. They don't want to hear about something that they can't understand or they can't wrap their head around, which is most likely narcissism, or your partner, or whoever you're referring to. These people get burned out, and this is not your fault, and it's not their fault. You are looking for someone to listen to you, and because the narcissist most likely went off to the new supply, they wanted to leave you reeling, leave you stuck and trapped. They did not want you to ever figure out who they were and what they do and how little they ever cared about you or anybody. But you did figure it out, and then you tried to get some closure by talking to other people and to get some people to understand or empathize or sympathize with you, and they got burned out because they didn't go through it. Again, this is foreign to them. They don't understand it, just like you didn't understand it until you got the wisdom. So all these people, again, some of them will weed themselves out. Some of them just can't understand it, and some of them actually want the truth. They don't want to help you out. But that's when, again, you stay in the cocoon of boundaries and you fill the void with you and your experiences, processing childhood wounds, processing the past, processing how you entered the relationship, why you stayed, how the trauma bond works, what gaslighting was, what the silent treatment was, the smear campaign, mirroring, projection, rage fits, etc. You learn all of these things, and then you start to put the definitions together with your real life experience, and then you say, yes, I did experience that. Oh my gosh, that too, and that's what that meant. And then you start dissecting the texts or the messages or the words the narcissist would say to you, and you understand now that there's a sublayer underneath a sublayer of cryptic messages whenever the narcissist would talk to you. The narcissist won't just come out, and if you ask them a question and it's black-white answer, they're not going to say that. They're going to say something in the middle. But the thing is, reading their messages or thinking about what they said when you were on an airplane or when you were in a car or when you were going to bed or when they were texting you, when you're understanding those things, you have to go down the rabbit hole of dissecting what all of those words meant. And what the words meant, there were certain messages in there meant only for you to understand. Now that's another part of the exploration of the rabbit holes that you're going to have to go down. Now, when I mentioned, as the thumbnail mentions, finding yourself in the unknown, it means two parts. Finding yourself, because as I mentioned earlier, you had to lose yourself to find yourself when you were in the relationship. Now you're finding yourself, or you found yourself. And the unknown is now life without the narcissist. Now, again, please understand something. When the relationship ends, and let's say it ended recently, there's a mountain of work and processing and tears and maybe even experiencing the angry stage or anger stage you'll have to go through. You're going to have to wrap your head around that the narcissist doesn't care about you or anybody. You'll have to practice radical acceptance, and you'll have to really slow down your life and understand that now you actually are in the unknown. Again, what I'm sharing here, there are many different unknowns, but I want to focus on this one for a minute. When you're in this unknown, it's again when the narcissists remove themselves from the relationship and you have a lot of free time, but you are isolated. You're all alone on an island, if you will, maybe even trapped in your own house like I was for 2 years and 2 days. Point being, that's when you really have to dig in deep. That's when you have to introspect and process things, because you're one of the fortunate ones. You found the needle in the haystack, which is what narcissism is, and you now understand that it has affected you for a period of time, and that now you should not allow it to affect you once you've healed or once you've reached the pinnacle of indifference. But if that's not you and the relationship ended recently, you sincerely, honestly are going to have to slow your life down and understand who the narcissist is, how little they care about anybody, and that what they wanted to do was hoodwink you or manipulate you and keep you around as long as they possibly could so they could take away as many of your resources. Okay, now, having said that, when you've healed and you've healed properly, or you're really on the healing path headed to the pinnacle of indifference, when you're doing that, that's when there's another unknown, because now what has happened is now you're healing, or you have healed, and now you understand who the narcissist is or was. But now many times what we do is we relocate. Many times we move away from our city, town, maybe even country. And what we do there is we want to get as far away from the narcissist as possible if we have the ability to do so. And there are so many people that have done that, myself included. Now, when you do that, many times we move to places that we don't know. We know about it on a map, but many times we haven't been there. And this is my journey. Same thing, relocating to a place where you don't know anybody. That, again, is an unknown. Now, think about this. There are a few unknowns I'm talking about in this video, but this part of the unknown, when you have to relocate, that is starting from scratch. That is shedding the past. That is leaving or giving your belongings away and just leaving all the items from the past in the past, if you can. And if you can't, I understand. Take them with you if you want. But it's a rebirth, if you will. It's an awakening. It is a comeuppance. It is you now entering the third version of yourself, the strongest, most galvanized version of yourself known to humankind, a version you didn't even know existed. But this unknown is where the doors of abundance open up for you. This is when you can fall in love again. This is when you can create friendships. This is when you can take a class, teach a class, read a book, write a book. This is when you can take any action you want to, because now you are in a toxic-free new environment. Again, maybe it's a city, state, town, country. But when you really enter the unknown, meaning you pick up and you move to a different part of the world, again, you don't know anybody, most likely, or you don't have much of a support system, and you have to figure things out all alone. But this is a rebirth. This is the beauty. This is the path. It is not with the narcissist. It's not ruminating or thinking about them. It's actually processing everything, perhaps even in your own home when you were isolated. And then you had to understand, wait, I need an exit plan. Exit plan is not for this video, but when you create, develop, and execute the exit plan, just like I did, and you enter the unknown, which is in an unknown area of the world, and you relocate, this is where everything slows down. This is where you can wake up whenever you want to. You can do what you want to do, when you want to do it, with whom you want to do it. You can sleep until 12, or you can stay up all night. You can go watch a movie, and I don't watch movies or TV or any of that. I gave it up over 3.5 years ago. Or you can go for a walk, or you can create a video out in the woods. You can do whatever you want to do. What I'm suggesting here is this unknown is beautiful because there's nobody over your shoulder telling you what to do, berating you, or dishing out verbal abuse. There's no one that you need to be thinking about where they are, who they're with, what they're doing, why they're not answering your texts, why they read your message and left you on pause, why they ghosted you, why when they would come home sometimes they would just throw a rage fit on you, or why they would gaslight you, or why they would tell you you are inferior, or why they would ask you to do things and you would be doing them because you were trapped, you didn't know any better, and why you would put somebody else ahead of you. These things and so many more is what you did in the narcissistic relationship. And the narcissist knew that. They're master manipulators. They knew what to do and how to get you as close to them as possible. Whether you fell in love with them or not, that doesn't matter. What matters is they took advantage of you. But you didn't have the wisdom back then. Now you do, or you are acquiring it. Again, finding yourself in the unknown. This is a good place. Post-narcissistic relationship, when you have healed, please understand there are different kinds of unknowns here. But the everyday fog, which I'll talk about for a moment, is a place that, it's a term I created, that is people on the planet, and I certainly used to be one of these people, that live in the everyday fog. They didn't go through the narcissistic cycle. They vacation in the same vacation spot every year. They drink coffee from the same mug. They see the same people and they wear the same clothes. They're everyday people, but they don't have the challenges of the narcissistic relationship to break free from, and they haven't had anything to heal from equal to the narcissistic relationship. So they're walking through life just like you were before you met the narcissist, and just like me before I met the narcissist. But then what happened? We met the narcissist, we entered the relationship, it took us super high and dropped us super low, we got discarded, or we ended it ourselves, then we had to heal from that relationship. People in the everyday fog don't have to heal from that. They are living narcissist free, or they haven't experienced what you've experienced yet. That's why they cannot understand what you are sharing with them. And I really hope you're understanding this video, because this is a very important video that I've been waiting to create for a while. Now, the everyday fog people, these people, my hope is that they don't ever enter a narcissistic relationship. I do not wish anybody to ever enter a narcissistic relationship for 1 minute or 1 second. But unfortunately, the narcissist looks for people who don't know about narcissism and who don't know their value and their worth. So the everyday fog people are more susceptible to falling into the narcissistic relationship. As I mentioned, that was you, that was me. But now that we've healed, or we are well on the healing path, we can now embrace the unknown, because we are now at that pinnacle of indifference, the mountaintop of indifference, when we no longer care about the narcissist or any of the people associated with them from that period of time. We now have boundaries in place. We are no longer people pleasers. We can now say no, the strongest word in the English language. And remember, when you say no to something or someone, you are saying yes to yourself. And we now know that if we don't want to do something, we don't explain or defend it. We just don't do it. If we want to do something, we do it. But we are the priority. We come first, second, and third. You see, we've risen through the ashes like a phoenix and come through the fire. We've come through the fire and we are now galvanized. We are the strongest version of ourselves possible. Your average human being who is living in the everyday fog, they can't do that because they didn't go through the narcissistic relationship. Now this is where I'll get ready to close the video. If you made it this far and you understand that when you're entering the unknown, that's where you find yourself so many times. I'm going to go back to when you were discarded, if you were, and if you were, my heart goes out to you. That period of time were some of the most challenging days of your entire life. You had two options: to fight through it and to figure out what you were up against, or to not. And you did, and here you are. So that is a beautiful thing. In retrospect, would you have wanted to go through all the toxicity of the narcissistic relationship if you knew they were a narcissist when you met them? Of course you wouldn't, but there was no other way. You had to go through that. That was part of your journey on this planet. That was part of my journey. And now that we've reached the pinnacle, now we understand that we are the priority, we now can embrace the unknown when we have healed, because now we can do whatever we want to, because now we are liberated, we are freed. We now see the world through a different set of eyes. We now have conquered the cycle that we never even knew we were in. We now have the terms, the definitions on the narcissistic abusive cycle. We can now identify poor behavior and take action in a moment's notice if we want to interact with somebody or not. We can now just sit back and watch people, many of them in the everyday fog, and see what they do. See if their actions match their words, because we now have a superpower, which is the healing path, which is processing everything we went through in that relationship and slowing our lives down. And for this video, picking up and packing and relocating and being narcissistic free and going no contact and blocking the narcissist, etc. And now we can do what we want, when we want, with whom we want. That is one heck of a journey, but it's my journey, and I'm certain it was your journey, or it is your journey. You see, finding yourself in the unknown post-relationship when you've healed, it's the biggest blessing in disguise, because you now can do anything you want to. And with this newly acquired wisdom, it is a superpower. Most people don't have what you have. That is why it is challenging for you to communicate with average everyday people on different levels, because the conversations about certain things, which I won't say, maybe the weather or, something, it doesn't intrigue you any longer, because you've elevated so much higher because of what you've had to dig, how deep you've had to dig within yourself. I hope you understand this message. That is why you need to really understand that many people will be talking about things in the everyday fog, like news or politics, things like that. That's great. God bless them. It's beautiful. I get it. I understand it all. That's not what I prefer to spend my time on. And I can assure you, if you've made it this far, it's probably you too. You probably see the world completely different like I do, and you understand that controlling what you can control is the path. And toxicity in your life any longer, there's no place for it. And after what you've been through and you had to heal from that relationship, it really is a superpower. It's a superpower on steroids that you did not ask for, yet you acquired. And with this newfound superpower, you need to use it wisely. You need to actually really use it wisely. Just because you have information or knowledge about something doesn't mean you have to say it. Remember what I'm sharing with you. You need to use this superpower when it's appropriate, and you need to help yourself out. But you definitely had to lose yourself to find yourself. And finding yourself in the unknown when you've had to relocate and you've slowed your life down and you've healed properly, it's the best place to be. It's where the doors of abundance open up for you. It's when you can create your future. It's when you see everything crystal clearly and you now know that you are the third version of yourself. Everyone, I hope you liked the video. I loved doing it from the beautiful Carolinas. This is Andrew. Namaste. Have a great afternoon, evening, or morning, no matter where you are on the planet. You are not alone. And drop comments below if the video resonates with you. I want to just emphasize one thing. There are two kinds of fogs in my glossary of definitions. There's the narcissistic fog, which we know what that is. And then there's the everyday fog. Most people are in the everyday fog. Let me tell you this. Being in the everyday fog is a blessing if you don't have to go through the narcissistic cycle. That was me, and I'm sure it was you. But you're changed forever now. You're out of the everyday fog. You're out of the narcissistic fog. At least that's my hope. And now you see things totally different. That's why your vibration is so much higher than, of course, the narcissist, but than you ever thought it would be, because you've now changed completely. You can't just do the same things you used to do. You really need to get the message. Everyone, I love you all. God bless you, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. All right. Bye, guys. Good location, right? Thank you. I like it too.